Well, good morning and welcome to another Tiny Desk sermon. This week we are going to look at the epistle lesson for the fifth Sunday in Lent. That is Hebrews chapter 5, verses 1 to 10. So this kind of gives us a glimpse into the priesthood and the priestly role. So the author to the Hebrews writes, "Every high priest who is taken from among men is given his position to take care of the interest of men in those things which have to do with God, so that he may make offerings for sins. He is able to have feeling for those who have no knowledge and for those who are wandering from the true way, because he himself is feeble. And being feeble, he has to make sin offerings for himself as well as for the people. And no man who is not given authority by God, as Aaron was, takes this honor for himself. In the same way, Christ did not take for himself the glory of being made a high priest, but was given it by him who said, 'You are my son. This day I have given you being.' And he says in another place, 'You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.' Who in the days of his flesh, having sent up prayers and requests with strong crying and weeping to him who was able to give him salvation from death, had his prayer answered because of this fear of God. And though he was a son, through the pain which he underwent, the knowledge came to him of what it was to be under God's order. And when he had been made complete, he became the giver of eternal salvation to all those who are under this order, being named by God a high priest of the order of Melchizedek." So a couple things that maybe jump to our mind. First of all, who is Melchizedek? So Melchizedek is actually mentioned in the Old Testament, Genesis chapter 14. He's a priest who blesses Abram. And so when we talk about the priesthood, especially in the Old Testament, it's a lineage. It's not an occupation that one decides to go into. It's an occupation that one is entered into by birth because of who they are, because of their birthhood. And so we talk about Aaron and the line of priests that descended from Aaron, and Christ being the fulfillment of that lineage. But in fact, being a greater priest, our high priest, because he, as it said in the text, did not fall into sin. His offering was not needed for himself. Rather, it was entirely for us. Now, this isn't to say that he wasn't tempted. Of course, we know that we're celebrating the 40 days of Lent right now. That is to mark the 40 days with which Christ was tempted there in the wilderness. But he is the high priest, the Son of God, who underwent a fate worse than any of the priests of Israel ever went. That was that he had to suffer and die, suffer the wrath of God for our sake. But he knows our temptations and our struggles. He knew what it was like to be under the weight of the law and fulfilled it perfectly for us. And now we follow in the steps of our high priest, who has made that sin offering for us and grants us his salvation. Amen. Thank you for joining me for another Tiny Desk sermon. I look forward to worshiping with you all again and seeing you all again here next week. God's blessings.